In today's show, we're going to do Getting Started with Project Oakdale for my Power Apps and Power Automate Pros. That's right, you already know Power Apps, maybe you already know Power Automate, but what I want to do is now that Project Oakdale is alive and you can start building on it, integrating it with teams and building custom apps, I want to show you the little things that you need to know to become effective. So we're not going to talk about how to customize the apps or any of that. You already know that. We're going to talk about what's different with Project Oakdale. But before we do that, first, here's our intro. Hi, my name is Shane Young with Power Apps 911, those guys. And today is all about getting started with Project Oakdale, right? So my assumption here is that you already know Power Apps or Power Automate, you're pretty comfortable. If you're not, that's cool, I got a video for you, or if you wanted to share with your coworkers, right? There should be a video up there for intro overview, build your first app in 5 minutes. So there's a link up there for that. Or maybe you are the type who wants the full-on 45 minutes, like it's a proper training class on building and customizing your first Project Oakdale thing. Then that is linked up there as well, all right? So I've got those two videos out there, but this one is made for you, right? My subscribers today, I don't know, was it like 77,000 of you or something? So you guys are all like, hey, how do we get started? So that's what we're gonna do in this video. I'm gonna make sure you understand the nuances because there's a lot of things that are just slightly different that I had to spend the last umpteen weeks getting my head wrapped around. So hopefully in a nice 20-minute-ish video, we can kind of get you guys running. All right, that's enough blah, blah, blah. Let's switch over to my desktop and let's go build something with Oakdale. Over here on my teams, what you're going to see is that I went ahead and provisioned a brand new team just 3 seconds ago called The Good Video, right? Because this is going to be my favorite of the videos that we're going to make. And so what we're going to do here is I'm going to walk you through like the very first process. And so the first thing you're going to do is over here on the left rail, you're going to click on More Apps. Now you might already have the Power Apps app here. You don't want that one. So what we're going to do is we're going to search for Power Apps. And so what you're really after here is the Preview app. Remember, all this is in preview, and also keep in mind that this is going to evolve quite a bit over the preview stage, so you might see things a little bit different in my video versus what you've got if you're watching this on launch day versus a week from now versus 2 weeks from now. So just kind of keep that in mind that some of these things might change a little. Anyway, we're going to add that for me, and so that is adding the Power Apps Preview app, which drops me right into this experience. Now go ahead real quick before you forget, right click on this thing and say Pin. So that way it's pinned to your left rail so you can always find it because you're a Power Apps or Power Automate person. And remember, if you're a Power Automate person, you're going to get to those from this same app, which is different, but whatever. Now that we're here, what we want to do is we're going to say create an app. Now you probably don't have all these recent apps here because you haven't done this before. That's all right. Ignore my recent apps, say create an app. And so then what you want to do is you have to select which team. Because one of the things that's different about Oakdale is you're going to get a different environment, a different Power Apps environment. So that means a different Power Apps or Common Data Service database. Remember, Common Data Service Lite, if you will, they don't give us an official name for it yet, is really what's powering underneath all this. So for every team you have to provision its own environment, which will be its own database, and everything will be contained within that team. It's not global like you kind of have with your Power Apps default environments today. So that is different. And that's why I went ahead and provisioned the Good Video Teams team, so that way we can see what happens when I say create here, because you're going to say, hey, give us a minute, right? It takes literally about 1 minute to provision out the underlying data structure so we can build the apps. So I'll hit pause when it's provisions and we'll be right back. Okay, I got the really loud Teams notification telling me it was provisioned, and you can see that it is dropping me just straight into the building environment. So this is the first piece of the puzzle. You've got to provision one of these, and you're going to go through this little 1 minute process every single time that you want to do this with a new Teams team. So that's one thing that's completely different for us. Now, I'm not even going to wait on this provision. Yeah, we'll wait on this provision. So hang on one more second. Okay, so now it is provisioned, and you get dropped into this experience, right? And you're like, hey, this feels like Power Apps, so it shouldn't be a big deal. But notice up here at the top, our ribbon is gone, right? We do not have our file, our insert, our view, our data. And so that's different. It's not bad, it's just different. They've moved things like App Checker over here to the left. Settings has now been pulled out because we don't have file to get to it anymore. And then all of our save, preview, and publish is over here. Now also keep in mind that if you want to rename your app, this is not readily apparent, click on App and be like, Chewy did this. Oh, that is not how I did that. And we say save, and so then that is going to change or save our app. And so now we have our same autosave that happens every 2 minutes. Remember with autosave though, that, you know, it's important to kind of keep in mind. I've just gotten in the habit where I've been working with Oakdale of hitting save over here, because if we click out, it just goes, right? There's no warnings. And that's just the way that Teams is built. Teams doesn't have a function to say, hey, are you sure you want to switch? Teams doesn't care. So it will let you just leave. So make sure you are saving early, saving often, and saving before you leave. So that's another big piece of this. Now we also noticed when I did anytime you do a new blank app like this, or a new tablet app, which we'll talk about in a minute, what you see here is this is called the hero template. And so the way that this one works is like if I say create new table, and we're just going to call this my employees, because you guys know I love my employees. We'll say create. So when we do this, this is going to create us a table. And so part of this table designer here is, you know, we have this drop down. We can start working with our data. So we can edit our columns. You know, if I want to change this, we know that my first column is always title, or I'll just use job titles, what I've been using all day for all the other videos. So we'll keep it the same. That edits the column, and it has been done. We can add columns. When you add columns, you get some different options here. And, you know, not all of the CDS data types are here. I'm going to show you in a minute where to get to all of them, but you do get a bunch of the ones you would expect here. And so, you know, we'll just do for a text for now, and then we'll just do our first name, and we are off and running, right? And so you can work your way to the right. You can add columns as you want. You can then use this to come back in here and be like, hey, we all know that the first job title is always CEO in my list, and it is Nicola's record, right? And so then we could come in here and do good old Chewy, right? He's the chief napping officer. And so we just have a nice, easy way to fill in the data. Okay, so I'm not going to walk you guys through creating all this, but remember there's just a bunch of different columns here. You know, take advantage of them. And in a minute, I'm going to show you where the rest of the columns are. And we'll finish up with this last name here, right? This gives us enough to do, because once again, I'm trying to, you know, the long version of the video, I linked to that at the beginning if you want to see the step-by-step of creating all of this. But instead here, now that we've got some data, what we can do is we can just hit X. And so over here, this is one of the magical things that will happen with what they call the hero template. It went ahead and set up the gallery to be connected to that, and the form connected to that. So that was pretty powerful, I thought. Other than that though, this is just your normal gallery. Just remember over here on the left, you're gonna have to use the tree view. So we'll hit the tree view like this. And so it makes it a lot easier to get to it. One of the really annoying things is rectangle is on top. Hopefully it goes away soon. I've just been deleting that. They were using that to show different color shading, but then it made it hard to click into these fields. So I just get rid of it. You'll also notice that like in the version I have right now, this says it's in 3 column. Clearly that looks like 1, but I've just been changing it to 12, which has always been kind of my standard. So then that way I can resize these. But you notice I started to resize and all of a sudden everything became big. So that's because there's this thing called width fit that is turned on by default right now. And so that is automatically trying to do the width. So if it's bothering you, just turn it off on each one of these columns. So then that way you can kind of size them the way that you would expect to be able to size them. And, you know, just kind of, you know, remember, we're in a preview, so we're not judgy that some things don't work exactly right. They get better every day, so very cool. Also keep in mind here, I'm going to add a couple things. So let's go add a button real quick. So we're going to throw a button over here. We'll just drag it, drop it right here on top of this thing. So buttons have a new thing called button type, and so primary and standard, which really just seems to be like a color thing. And I think the way that those are kind of set up is as they start to integrate more with teams can have different themes, right? There's the light theme, the dark theme, the high contrast themes, that these buttons will be able to better react. And right, the goal is to really try and make this stuff all integrate. And so it's not all there. We're in preview, remember that? But they are starting to see some of that. So you will notice some of these things are different, right? This button, even though it's a button we've been using in Power Apps forever, it has different settings over here. And if you go over here, look at this. It has some different things. Fill color, and then border color, button type, right? There's some different nuances over here. Text color, right? We used to just call it color and fill. Now it's text color and button fill are the things. So there's some different things you're going to see here that you might find a little confusing. Don't freak out. Just kind of look over here, make sense of it, and you'll be able to find the pieces you want. Let's throw a label up here, right? Grab me a label, throw it over here. One of the things, you know, labels, So same type of thing, right? You're going to see some slightly different pieces here. But what I also want you to remember is that something we have not seen before, we now have this rich Teams integration. So if you type in Teams and then do a dot, look at this. Is it a full screen? What's the theme? What's the channel? What's the team? Context, entity ID. I don't even know what that one is yet. But so when you do Teams.this team, still a record, do another dot, and then group ID. Now, you notice right here in the UI, this is currently blank. That's because we're not published into a team, so it doesn't know the group ID. But what's interesting about this for me is, remember, if you watched a few videos ago, we talked about Power Apps and Teams integration. We did all those hoops to figure out what a channel was, what team they were in. Look, there's an object for Teams, this team group ID. This will return the actual group ID. So then you have a programmatic way to do things, like when you start adding send a message, or when you start adding, you know, all those types of rich Teams integrations, sending those adaptive cards. You've got those IDs. You don't have to go fetch them because of this new Teams integration object, right? It shows up right here if you're looking for it. So I thought that was a big deal that you guys wanted to make sure you did. Now, you will also notice, you know, so if we can go to settings. So we do have like the account stuff, collections, variables. We can do some different things with screen sizes. We still got our friends, the advanced settings. But what don't you see over here? You don't see save and save as and publish and share and all that stuff, right? Because it's a little bit different. So there's our save button. We do have our preview, so we can still do our player. Yay. But then what you're going to do is you're just going to publish off to Teams. So if I say publish to Teams, it's going to take this, say next. And so here is a little bit of a thing I missed the first time I went through, so I'll make sure you guys don't miss. So here you're like, oh, I just save and close. No, you need to tell it which channel you want to add it to. So I'm going to click on the plus here, so then that way it adds it. So that's an easy one to overlook. So we'll say save and close. And then look, now we're just going to click on Teams. Remember, it didn't say, hey, are you sure you want to leave? It just let me go. So be careful. There's your Chewy did this. And so if we click on it, our app should load up. Look, there is the GUID for our channel ID. Remember that was a thing, or the Teams ID, whatever, group ID, whatever I chose. There it is showing up. So pretty interesting stuff that this all just kind of came over, but now it's embedded in here. It's going to show up in Teams, whether you're in Power App, or sorry, whether you're in the Teams client, the Teams desktop, the Teams mobile device, it doesn't matter. It lives inside. There is no way to run this app outside the context of Teams. It is a Teams app. If you open up your Power Apps app on your mobile machine, on your mobile device, then what you're going to see is that, you know, this app doesn't show up, right? Chewy did this, doesn't show up there. This is just lives inside of Teams. Okay? All right. So now let's go look at some more of the back-end stuff, because I think this is a lot of the value I can bring for you guys, because I spend a lot of time figuring it out. So we're going to click on Power Apps over here. Now, one of the things I want you to do is I want you to go up here and click on Build. And so then here what you're going to see, remember, every one of your teams that you have provisioned Power Apps in has its own environment. So that's what this is really showing you, the list of different environments you have available to you. So if we go down to Good Video, now it's real easy to see this and get scared, like, oh, where's my data? I freaked out the first time I saw this, I'm not going to lie. Just hit dismiss. Oh, there they are. So another one of those things, it's just a nuance of the preview. I'm sure it won't be that way forever. But what you might want to do here is say see all. This is where I think you start to get some cool stuff going on. So now I can see everything I've got, but if I kind of drill in here and be like, oh, here's all my apps. And so then now I can hit the drop down and look, so I got edit the app, play the app, add the teams, details, delete. And so add to Teams is actually mislabeled right now. So if you wanted to export a copy of this app, you can say add to Teams. And so this is actually going to let you download a copy of the app. I got no explanation for that. That's a way to get the zip file out though. So that's an interesting little nuance there. We can still go into details. You know, we can see the licensing, the versions. And remember, they haven't really, right, this is in preview, so we haven't talked licensing at all. So don't overthink anything you see there. But we can see our versions. So it took me a little bit to realize this is where they were hiding. Okay. So then the other thing I want to look at, let's go down here and go to tables. And so then this is where we're going to see my employees. Remember, we created that. if you click on it, eventually you guys are going to see manage permissions. That's not there today, but once you see it, check it out. There's going to be some cool stuff there. It's just not fully baked yet, so it's not rolled out. But if we hit the drop down here, we can delete the table. Boo. We can jump into that same visual editing experience. Or if you just click on this guy, this is going to take you to a more traditional CDS or Common Data Service view. And with this, you're overwhelmed because Common Data Service provisions a lot of fields to go with your data to make it easy to use. Just hit the little drop down up here and change this to custom. Oh, there's the 3 we made. Oh, I can deal with that. If you click add column, one of the things that you can see up here in the data type, a lot more different data types show up here. So these are the same ones you see over in the Common Data Service with a few little nuances, but one of the things I've been doing is right away I wanted to add an image column because I wanted the ability to add people's faces. And we're going to put that in and we're going to go play with it because I want to talk about one little thing that made me angry with that one as well. But this gave us the ability to add, upload, attach images straight into this so my employees' faces can show up. We have the relationships, the views. I haven't played with any of that yet, but it all looks like it's there and it's all the Common Data Service stuff I'd expect. My Power Automate people, right? If you got to do flows, look, you do that from right here. And so you can do on the new button, you can do a new flow, automate, instant, or scheduled. So just exactly the way that you would expect it. So build these. Remember that you're going to use the Common Data Service connector. So if we build a new flow, let's just do a new instant flow. It's going to walk us through the wizard just the way we expect. We'll do manually trigger a flow. I won't even bother giving it a name because I don't care that much. We're going to say create. And we're into the Flow Studio here in our app. And so if you want to interact with that data, you're going to use the Common Data Service current environment. And so then if we said, list records, it's going to set up my connection. And then once it does, in here, we should see, I should have named it my, because my is way at the bottom, my employees. And so then that lets us get in there. So that's how you guys are going to interact with your Common Data Service data. Or you can always, go and use, just like we covered in the video that I did for you guys, around building teams and adaptive cards and all that rich power. It's all still here. Cool? All right, let's get out of here. I'm just going to hit build. So then if we go back over here to the good video as well, last couple of things. So see all. So we also have the Power Virtual Agents, the chatbots. And up here on the new button, because this wasn't easy to figure out. If you expand Canvas app, this is the only place that you can create a phone form factor app, right? And so the idea is it'll just be pre-sized down. So if you do new or create app on the other screen, it just defaults to a tablet. So if you want to do a phone today, and you have to come in here and take advantage of that. Okay, so that's where that's hidden. Yay us, hiding stuff, right? That's what I want to do. I'm going to show you the hidden things. Other than that, I haven't played with too much of this other stuff, so go click around. You tell me what's out here. It's fun. All right. The other thing I wanted to do over here in my apps again, so we'll go back to Chewy did this, and so I want to show you guys another little piece of this. Okay, so the other thing I wanted here was I wanted to come in, so I'm going to click on my form again. We're going to edit fields. I want to add face because I need to show you something that I thought was a bug, and it just turned out I just didn't understand it. Oh, you know what, you guys, I didn't save that face. All right, I'll redo that again, and I'll be right back. Now let's just show you, right? So we'll just do it together. So what we do, we say build. We go back to the good video. We'll go back to my employees. We're going to say add a column again. We're going to say face. We're going to say image. Oh, that is not image. That is file. Image. Say done. And then down here in the bottom right, I got to slide my face over Scoot Shane. Okay, so right here, we're going to say save table. And there you go. That's what I forgot to do. So now we can go back to build the good video. Chewy did this. It thinks I still have it open. I don't. So we're just going to say override. And that's because that lock didn't time out, right? I just left instead of closing out of it. So we got a little confused. It's fair. Okay, so now this opens. We'll click on our form again. We'll say edit fields, add a field, add the face, add. Perfect. Okay, so now I'm going to say preview. And we're going to click on Nicola's record here. And we're going to say edit. We're going to tap to add a picture. We're going to find this new picture of Nicola. She wanted a different one. Now, what I want you to try and notice is how clear the picture is, right? Pay attention for a second for me, right? Wake up. Okay, we're going to say save. Now look at how blurry the picture is. So what's happened is when I uploaded, they automatically generated a thumbnail, and they're using that thumbnail. They're presenting the thumbnail back to me And so it looks terrible. I thought this was a bug, like they'd broken something. What it turns out is that it was just that whole thumbnail thing. So if I click on the card here, I'm gonna go back to this. Oh, I'm gonna unlock it first. Unlock. And so then what you need to do is change the default. So face is the face, right? But it's the thumbnail by default. But it's secretly hidden here. If you do a dot, oh, dot full. So there's like they hid that. And so now if you look, now it's crystal clear again, right? There's Nicole, so pretty. Hi. So that is it drove me bonkers. So I felt like I had to show that to you guys. Okay. So we have to save. And then it's the same type of thing, right? If I want that face to go into the Power App, I gotta publish my team over there as well. Now this time the tab's already done. I don't have to hit the plus again, so I can just say save and close. And so then now it'll be over there. And then you guys know the drill, right? It's just this normal Power Apps. So, oh look, it came on the first try. Sometimes you might have to use the little refresh up here to get it to go. But for the most part, this one's been a little snappier than sometimes Power Apps likes to cache things and drive me bonkers. So, all right, I think that's a lot of what I wanted to show you. The only other piece I had, let's go back over to Power Apps Preview. I did not pin it apparently. Back to my build. And so then over here under my tables, the other thing I didn't show you over here was I wanted the ability to, we'll change this back to just custom. But if I wanted to make first name required, right, you click on the column, and so then you have optional, you can change this to required right here. And I can be like, hey, I don't want job title to be required anymore. So I would change that to optional. And I'd move my face again so I could click the save table in the bottom corner. You've got to remember to save the tables after you do this, because if not, you're going to be like me and get halfway through your demo and then in front of millions of people watching, be like, oh, oops, I have to go back and do that again. So it was good practice. Okay. So hopefully this is getting you guys empowered, right? You feel like now you can jump in and start building with Oakdale. And I think you should. Don't go spend 1,000 hours on one of these apps. That would be a mistake because there's no guarantee, right? I'll post somewhere the link to Microsoft's policy on like preview environments. But I'm gonna be honest, I'm gonna start building some, smaller, less business critical apps on this and start rolling it out so I can start testing, learning the nuances. There's a lot of things that are a little bit different that I think we gotta learn. But at the end of the day, I think this is such a better data source than our Excel spreadsheets and our SharePoint because, it goes with that same included licensing, yay, but it has less delegation. It's way faster of a data source because there's no middleman. It's called a native connection, which is pretty awesome. There's just a lot of upsides to building this way. So I really think you guys should be embracing this, jumping in here and checking out. I'll throw some other links down in the descriptions below, or the description of the video. Just some different things. I think you guys might want to read if you're really trying to get into this. Also, remember, leave me comments. Tell me what you're after. What else can I cover here? I'm going to start building some apps, doing some more demos in this environment, even while it's still in preview, because I think that there's a lot of new, thinking that we can start to put into place. I do think this is going to become the number one, not number one, but this is going to become very key, right? There's a lot of people in the world that use Teams today that want to build custom apps. And I think these custom apps with Power Apps and Power Automate, Power Virtual Agent, Power BI also can bolt in here. I'm not smart enough to do that yet, but apparently it can bolt in here as well. There's a lot of new value that just happened with this Ignite meeting or Ignite conference, whatever, this launch. So embrace it, learn it. Cool? All right. I guess with all that, I'm just going to say thanks and have a great day. Before you go, be sure to click on the subscribe button over here so that way you'll be notified when new videos come out. If you need any help or you want to work together, whether your problem is big or small, check us out at Power Apps 911. We do it all. I rhymed. Or if you're looking for more formal training offerings, we have those linked up here somewhere. So check them out. Thanks and have a great day.